Well, hello everybody. I want to do this live, dispel a pile of misconceptions. A lot of it's ignorance. A lot of it is what people have been conditioned in Canada to believe. And right now, in just the coming days ahead, we're looking at less than a week now, tonight. Less than a week, 6 days till a provincial election in Alberta. And it's a polarized election, literally two parties, which is not even ever heard of in Alberta, not for a very, very long time. And I have so many folks fighting the NDP conservative narrative. And it blows me away. So many people chiming in, commenting, accusing me of being this or that. I ran for Alberta independence. Independence. Taking Alberta and leaving Canada, and Alberta becoming the UN state landlocked nation called Alberta. The legal path to that, following the UNSC, I went through all of it. All major economics, all legal realities, went through the Crown entirely. It's an option all provinces or any territory could proceed with. Is it hard? Yes, absolutely. But folks, this video today, regardless of what people say, what people get accustomed to, it's very, very pathetic. And I'm going to go into some great political science here. Reality-based for anybody across Canada and any of my small American following to look at. And the Americans are going to pick up on this right away as I get started. And Canadians should wake up. So we're just going to touch on Alberta. I know this province very well. It's my home province. I grew up in it, but I've got to tour Canada. I've got around into a lot of provinces. But we have to start with the rural-urban divide. The big cities versus those who live out in the rural communities. The acreages, even the very small towns, sometimes villages, can have some small cities, but lots of rural folks. Province like Alberta, tremendous farmland. Almost 40% of Alberta available to Albertans and First Peoples. Almost. Now, the big difference here is in the United States of America, on a model of more than twice the land availability for all Americans than even Alberta. And Saskatchewan has a little more land availability than Albertans do. Alberta and Saskatchewan have the most. But even in that narrative, and even with the great farms available in the rural communities, America's got all of that too. Do you know what first and foremost distinguishes Canada from America? Never mind for a moment the constitutional monarchy versus the Republic of the United States. Let's just look at the rural-urban divide. And this is paramount for people understanding things. The United States, in its design, knew that if you wanted to be a real follower of quality of the person, you had to look past quantity and standing. Okay? Never mind industrial revolutions. Even the founding fathers knew that you had to put in a protection for the mob. Republics know all about, in their history, mob rule. Rome was all about mob rule. You go to any major city, and the populace of the city will easily override and subjugate the rural expanse. I can get into great detail. I wrote a paper for Oxford on the city-state. And since that time, America became a nation-state, meaning lots of cities, lots of rural folks, widely dispersed along a great amount of landmass. They kept growing their states. So the founding fathers in that initial design said, listen, we can't have mob rule. That doesn't work very well. It always leads to a centralized government. Mob rules, the most densely populous areas, are going to rule the entire roost. And what's good for a major dense city is often not even anywhere near what rural folks require and need daily. The needs of urban folks and the needs are completely different. They're completely different. So America said this, listen, we're going to set up two of our executive systems and two of our legislative systems merged together to divide that and protect the balance of rural and urban regardless of population. So they said, we'll have a house that does represent by population. We'll give it a division of powers. But then we're going to have an executive branch house, a separate division of powers, that is going to protect the rural minority. We're going to do that. So House represents by population, Senate represents by all included, meaning you can have a small population and still have the same value as the large population. So the Senate gave 2 seats for every state, no matter how big it becomes, no matter how metropolized it becomes. The founding fathers knew that this had to be designed so you couldn't have any division. No matter how big Congress got, you'd always have a balanced Senate that could always take in its powers, executive powers, and the Congress and its legislative powers would never be able to clash too hard. Certain powers belong to Congress, certain belong to Senate. Rural was found strengthened in Senate. Your big cities were strengthened in Congress. Some pros for this one, pros for that one. Division over. The States does very well. They trade interstate-wise very, very easily. And why? It's because of this balance. Now, Canada. No such system exists. It exists nowhere in Canada's design. Canada is all about the larger and denser the population, the more mob rule power you have. Centralized power. Bigger the cities, more power unto the cities, take the vote away. A lot of Western folks, a lot of Atlantic folks complain that they're not ever recognized in Canada. The vote always goes to the center. That's based on this system. To dispel that system, you'd have to follow an American model. To make all things relevant, you'd have an upper house of Senate that would be modeled. Each province gets the same equivalency, and you divide the powers between them. Canada doesn't do that. We have an appointed Senate by Prime Minister. Prime Minister gets to pick his cabinet over the entire House and rules both roosts entirely. That's how it works in Canada. Big cities win the day. Right now in Alberta, Edmonton and Calgary, going toe-to-toe against rural Alberta, win hands down. Conservatives can win all of rural Alberta. But if they lose one of the cities almost entirely, like Edmonton, and more than 60%, 65% of Calgary, guess what you have, folks? You have an NDP government not represented any way, shape, or form rurally, and that's how it works. Mob rule dense cities, that's what matters in the Canadian system. The Canadian system, based entirely constitutionally off of the British Empire and design. Well, what does that mean? Look at the UK, the island of the United Kingdom, a very small island, dense, 5 countries pressed into one, no provinces, none whatsoever, no division of powers. It's 5 countries in a centralized system. End of story. You get that model in Canada. Now there's all cities because it's a small set of island states. They don't have the great divide, expanse of land like in North America, specifically Canada. That model won't work for Canada. That's why we're so broken. But our Constitution says that is the design. That's what we must mirror and reflect to the betterment of that British design. So that's what we do. We've always done that. Further, so rural will only get weaker in Canada. Over and over and over time, as population density increases, rural becomes less and less important till it's not represented in any meaningful way, shape, or form. Your system was never designed to give two its about anybody in small communities or in a whole different set of circumstances, especially if you're in a minority situation as they densify the cities. Rural will always become smaller and smaller until it matters not at all. That's the truth of Canada and every other model based off the UK. You want to know what's going to happen to rural Canadians? Just go look at the UK. That's what you're going to get. There's lots of systems like that. All of the European Union is like that. They're almost all unitaries. A lot of people don't know this. There's no such thing as provinces. At least not provinces with any kind of division of power. You can have central located government, the federal power, which is all of the provincial power too, and then you got cities and municipalities deal with it. Bigger municipality, more say, more control over taxation. Smaller community, weaker communities go under. That's how it works. Good luck getting anywhere. That's how Europe works. Anyone saying anything else is just telling you a farce, a fancy, a lie. Countries like the United States and Russia must run on that system. They're vast, they're large countries, and they're dispersed out very greatly. And they seem to be doing extremely well compared to everybody else. How's UK's economy today? How's Germany's economy today? It's the worst. And in fact, when you look at the G7 today, they don't even compute this year for G7 membership. Not even close. But hey, let's continue following the model. Let's make a broken model work, I guess. Or at least a lot of politicians very rich. More, folks, I want to get into these election cycles. And a lot of people making a lot of bold statements, but yet nothing they say is backed up with any fact. Like, here's some real good facts about UCP today and Daniel Smith's party. It's the largest running set of Liberal candidates. Alberta's PCs or UCP or any name they wish to use in the Conservative brand in a very, very long time. They have a ton of Liberal candidates. Alberta Party, chock loaded with city slickers and absolute Liberals. I've met the entirety of last election's Liberal Party. All their candidates, total Liberals. They're running 24 this time, not 87. Go look at your history books, folks. Look how many candidates they ran in 2019. I know I ran 67 candidates in 2019. The Alberta Party, people are saying, why were they not in the debates? They only ran 21 candidates. In fact, everybody withdrew all their candidates. So left or right, their candidates went to other parties. So, okay, where did the candidates go? Which parties did they run with? There's your answer. Liberal folks ran with both UCP, a lot of them, and NDP. Split. In fact, I think UCP got a few more, and some Liberals too. So folks accusing me or saying, oh, you're this, you're that, explain to me, folks, why so many traditionally progressive conservatives, the real conservatives, long running, walked away this year. Travis Toes, is he a libtard? Is that what people are going to say when he's not going to run? A whole bunch aren't going to run, and in their place are Alberta Party candidates or Liberals, literally out of the Liberal Party of Canada. I'm sorry, but a person has to start to look at things. Why are some PCs going with NDP? Why are so many Liberals fragmented? Half are running UCP, half are going to NDP. Is it possibly because, folks, we don't really have a multi-party system? Like, I watched Jason Kenney, and these are facts. He appointed, after he won the 2019 election, mass amounts of NDP out of Saskatchewan, joined his team. We had the former Alberta Party leader, Stephen Mandel, take over health and appointment ministry. And what? Nobody said, hey, it's okay, he's now a conservative? These problems have only been multiplied by Danielle Smith. For folks who are saying that she's going to be this or that, I'm sorry, it's a con job. Just like Aaron O'Toole, just like every other politician who's ever ran. What they say and what they do are two different things. Just like who they say they are and who they bring along with them are two very, very, very different things. And I have yet to see anyone bring forward anything that says, hey, you're not telling the truth here, bud, or pulled out the cast of candidates in this provincial election, NDP, UCP alike, gone through them, run their names and said, oh no, this guy's solid conservative, this gal, solid conservative. No, because if you did what I did, you'd be like, oh, well, that's a Liberal, or that's Alberta Party, total city slicker, total progressive, total leftist. Oh, magically, they're now conservative, right? For the election. For the election, they're conservative, right? We got Sonia Savage, who's going into Agenda 2050. They sailed past 2021, no problem. They're all on board with that. They got into WEF, all these programs, all globalism, all to the betterment, again, of London and the royal family and the Green New Deal, which you can find in the Commonwealth Charter 2012. Anyone can read it, read all the new bullet points. Read the New Atlantic Charter by supposedly conservative Boris Johnson and the extreme leftist Joe Biden. You can read all that and what they cemented there, and completely in your face from 1941, and a whole new different narrative, leftist, extremist, globalist. And then you can see the UCP taking all of that in. We know NDP's taking it in. Folks, the problem here is you have two parties with identical mass spending, mass looting from the working class, and the absolute screw over of rural Canadians, especially absolutely rural Albertans. They're both going to do it. They're appeasing the cities because it's mob rule, and cities work well with massive socialism. It's just reality. That's what they're going for. That's what they're pushing for. They need the votes. They need the support. They're not going to go the other way. No matter how much they tell you they will, that isn't the design. It's not in the cards. It's not who butters their bread. It's not what the constitutional acts of Canada tell them to do. And more, the Crown appointments have a narrative that they expect those provinces to follow, and they've already got all the major municipalities on board. Anyone talking about Calgary as some kind of conservative hub of massive physical restraint, I'm sorry, you better go look at the last three mayor runs, the last 4-year terms, 3 of them in a row, in fact. There is nothing, and I repeat, nothing conservative about Calgary anymore. There hasn't been anything remotely conservative about Calgary for nearly 20 years. People talk about business. They talk about, oh, the taxes went down for small business and blah, blah, blah. Well, why is all the money fleeing Alberta and largely Canada? How come investment isn't pouring in? Now they're saying, but there's so much work, Dave. The economy's never been so strong. Look at the service sector. It's pumping it out. And how much per person per capita federal, provincial, and municipal debt have we taken in? Oh, nobody talks about that, right? Nobody talks about the rate and amounts of borrowed against the people monies we've taken in, the promise of we'll pay later. How much of that has Canada done per person per capita? How much, in fact, has Alberta done per person per capita? And there is your true answer. And then anybody trying to say anything else or accuse me of anything else or anybody else in our party and what we're trying to do here, I am sorry, but you are nothing but what was classically called the libtard and the rest of it. And if people are offended, please go leave. I don't care. Because you can keep your head in the sand. You can post looking for attention or looking to dissuade people from my posts. But the reality at the end of the day is, what are you? Who are you? And what is it you're championing? Because it certainly isn't what you profess it to be. And from my standpoint and all the research I've done, the countries I've looked at, articulated very well in videos just like this, and nobody ever comes forward with the facts. They can't dispute anything I say. They just, no, you're this, you're that, no, you're a libtard, or you're a greenie, or you're all these things, even communist. I'm sitting here going, but you're the one championing only 9% of Canada be made available in private property. I'm championing mass amounts of Canada in private property. That's the opposite of communism. Sorry, in communism there is no private property, which Canada is very close to being. We're very, very close. A lot of people say it feels like we're becoming communist. Well, that's because we're a precursor to communism. That's what constitutional monarchies are, especially constitutional monarchies from the old world order, pre-League of Nations kind of stuff, when there were no human rights, none whatsoever. And I've had a lot of activity with Americans. I don't have a whole lot, but I've had a lot. And they're looking at the UK now, and they're sending me stuff like, did you know about all these UK children sent to Canada? And it's like, well, the Scottish, the Irish, yeah, all part of the UK. Of course, all the way to 1948, of course. Well, why did it stop in 48? Go look at your human rights. Who brought those forward? Oh yeah, USA, Russia, China, and they forced UK and France. They had to change. We are recycling these systems, and we're coming back to repeat the sins of the past. We're coming back to relive history. Unfortunately, World War II is a long time ago. A lot of those folks are no longer with us or not in a good capacity to do anything about it. They're all at their end of years, in their last few years. Lots of them are not even able to function properly, to convey teachings to anybody. And they know that as veterans are dying off, those who witnessed it are dying off. What happens? People forget. Great presidents of the past. You can look at Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon. You can look at JFK. Fill your boots. They all have similar speeches on how we're only ever one generation away from losing all our rights and freedoms. People are just that easily fooled by the government largely, or government loyal propagandists, when they have the media, when they have all the narrative, all the taxes, and they control the narratives. They tell you what you're supposed to hear. And sadly for Canada, that's all parties. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, and it's fine. We're going to do our thing in 2025, and we'll see what people gravitate to. And if they don't know what to tell you, but it's not going to stop us from harvesting our 342. We're even going to have a 2024 midway, it looks like. So I think we're going to have 8 candidates. I don't know for sure. We'll see what happens. But folks, this video is real. As always, credible. It's totally verifiable. And if people aren't willing to get off their butt and research the candidates and the parties, it's now officially this election in Alberta. Again, a first in an extremely long time. In fact, there hasn't been a two-way race in a very long time. And they're all in cahoots on it. But go look at the Alberta Party candidates of 2019, Liberal Party of Canada candidates 2019 Liberal Party of Alberta candidates, Alberta Party candidates. Go through all the parties, look at their left and their right narratives, and then go look at the current roster of UCP candidates running in all 87, and go look at NDP and all their candidates running in the 87. And you show me which party is which. You tell me. Because apparently if I say it, it's got to be a lie, or I'm taking advantage of people, or I have a hidden agenda on some leftist rant when I ran for independence of Alberta in 2019 in a majority. And now I'm trying to fix Canada, build the Republic of We the People. And it's a daunting task. It's constitutionalism, it's civics, it's unlocking the rights and freedoms that all Canadians should have from every province and every territory, promised from the very beginning. But we'll see. People are going to call me things. You're this, one day you're alt-right extremist, next day you're alt-left. I've had that throughout my whole political run, and it's sad. It's sad that people are propagated to believe and push these things when the reality is it's not me, it's them. And you can look at who they back and which riding they're in. Just go ask them, well, what riding are you in? Who's your candidate? What's their history? Holy crap, your candidate is from the Liberal Party of Canada. And you're telling me I'm a Liberal, but yet you're saying you're conservative, but you're going with UCP, with the Liberal Party candidate, clearly for entire being of their self, and all of a sudden this election they're now conservative. It's just not possible. It's not possible. That's called fraud. Any other industry, that'd be fraud. You flipped, I saw the light, I'm 58 years old and I've been liberal my whole life. Also, I saw the light. I'm conservative today just for the election. 2 weeks to go. Like I said, everybody, go look for yourself. You'll find the lies are there by those posting them. I don't lie. I only tell the truth. And you will find this truth both with UCP and NDP alike. It's almost like they're all just one party and it's all one little game for you. And why would that be? Because we're a constitutional monarchy. It's a crown system. And while they pretend they're not together, they're all one crown. And they will fight for it. Maybe they have some differences in their special interests. But I promise all of you, it is not you that they're representing. They're representing themselves and their wealthy, elite, first-class friends. And there's variations, but not much. And that's the truth of it. 2 duffel bags. They can get a few policies out of this left one, great. They can get a few policies out of this right one, great. Either way, they're always winning, and you all are always losing. All of the public debt goes on you, the subjects defined constitutionally, and the savages defined again constitutionally. I can't make it up. It's been there all the way through. That's my video. Share, share, share. Get it out there. Bye now.